Hi guys, welcome back to a new video. In today's video, I want to talk about patch 11.1.7 and I want to talk about legacy content, and in particular, I want to talk about one of the new events that will happen during this patch, and this is the Collector's Bounty event. So Blizzard did advertise a little bit this event the first time they mentioned patch 11.1.7. And basically they said that it would be a really good time for you to farm all the legacy content from raids and dungeons, because as you can see, foes in legacy dungeons and raids find themselves loaded down with extra treasure. Defeat them once more to collect their bountiful rewards. And this event will only be there for 1 month, so definitely something you will have to keep in mind when patch 11.1.7 will be there. So basically, I've been able to test a little bit this on the PTR, and what it does is actually pretty simple. When you are doing dungeons, instead of getting 2 loot per bosses, you will usually get 3. So it means that here you have 50% more loot when farming all the different dungeons, or at least the few ones that I've been able to try this new event with. So for dungeons, I think this is pretty big because it means that like that you will be able to collect all the different rewards you're farming way faster. So I think this is definitely a really good thing, especially if you're trying to farm some of the dungeons that have, for instance, some of the different mounts and this type of things. Then it's definitely going to be useful for you, because hopefully this will also increase your chance at getting these different mounts. And then for raids, it's very similar. Normally you will receive 1 extra loot when killing all the different raid bosses from any of the different raids. And so this is something that is not as insane, I would say, because normally, for instance, for the ones from Mist of Pandaria, you get 6 pieces of gear per bosses. And here when I was trying it out, you would get 7. So it's not really insane. Again, I was expecting maybe at least to get 10 or something like that. So you really have the feeling that during this period you're gonna get so much more loot. But I think they're just doing this event to, like, you know, have you maybe do a little bit more of this legacy content while they're waiting for patch 11.2 to be released. And it's just a nice way for you to have a few additional drops per raid. So for instance, again here, if you do a raid like this one in Mist of Pandaria, you have 4 bosses, so it means 4 extra loot, which is again not too crazy, but it's still something that is pretty nice. And same here, if you do something like the Siege of Orgrimmar, then here, as you can see, you will have a lot more loot, but again, normally it will be only 1 per boss. And here I want to insist on the fact that it's only the amount of items that will increase and not the drop chance of, for instance, rare mounts and, you know, rare cosmetics or anything from the raids. The only thing is, again, you have 1 more drop, so it still also impacts the chances of getting new mounts and everything, because this new additional drop might be a mount. But again, it's not increasing the drop rate of the mount, so it's not because there is this event up that, for instance, you can go do any of the raids and suddenly you will have like 90% chance of getting one of the mounts that is from any of these raids or dungeons. So just something I wanted to clarify, because I think a few people got a little bit confused between the drop rate and also the drop chance of these different items. So all in all, this is a pretty interesting event. It's not gonna be absolutely insane for collectors. I still think it's gonna be a nice little thing to do, but I do wish that maybe they will decide to add a few more drops to the different raids and also to the dungeons. I think dungeons, it's fine to have like 1 more drop when normally we only have 2 per bosses. But for raids, I think only 1 more drop is not really interesting enough for, I think, a lot of people to consider going and farming all the legacy raids during this period. So who knows, we're still far from the release of patch 11.1.7, and maybe Blizzard will actually add more drops. I think, again, something like 10 instead of 6 would be really awesome. Something where you really feel like, okay, this is worth doing during this month. And after that, you know, I'll be able to do something else. Let me know in the comments what you think about this specific event and about the way it is currently in the PTR. And in particular, let me know if you think this is something that will maybe influence you a little bit in doing more of these different legacy raids and dungeons in order to farm all the different transmogs, rewards, and overmounts from these different expansion. And here again, as this is an event that will be there for a month during patch 11.1.7, if you are someone who is trying to get their hands on some of these different items, cosmetics, and other rewards from raids and dungeons, maybe consider waiting a little bit for patch 11.1.7 and then really focusing on that during this patch and during this event, because again, you will still get a little bit more loot, and so it's definitely going to be a little bit faster for you to collect everything. So that's pretty much it for today's video. I will be back very soon with more guides and more videos, and in the meantime, I wish you all a great day. Bye!